so loved the world, that he gave his only Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
What's up, peoples? So today God showed me something that is really interesting. So just follow the line of logic here. I have a whole bunch of cross references that leads to something great. So it was great for me. I hope it's great for you. So Proverbs verse 6, it says, "For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding." So the Lord gives wisdom and knowledge and understanding. So the Lord gives wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So now we have Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13, which says, "Happy is the man who finds wisdom and the man who gains understanding." Right? So one of the keys to happiness is wisdom and understanding, but you don't get that unless you go to God for it. And then, come on. Chapter 9, verse 10 in Proverbs. It says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." So we already have a definition of understanding. It's knowledge of God. The knowledge of God is understanding. And in order to obtain wisdom, the first thing you have to do to obtain wisdom from God is to fear God. Not fear as in you are afraid of him, but more as if it's a reverence, it's respect, it's the acknowledgement of God's holiness. My mentor, a great friend of mine, he what do you call it? He recently had a breakthrough. So he was reading in Psalms and he came upon this verse that contrasted, well, basically made a point that you should be joyous in the fear of God. It's like, how do you do both? Joy and fear, those are two polar opposites. But then he had this insight that it's like, you are on the basketball court and then Kobe and Michael Jordan comes in and they're on your team. Like, you acknowledge their greatness and you know you're about to win that basketball game, but you acknowledge their greatness and you rejoice because they're on your team. So this is the same thing with fearing God. You acknowledge his greatness, his holiness, his awesomeness. And this is the first step to the beginning of wisdom. So then we have chapter 11, verse 2 in Proverbs. It says, "When pride comes, then shame, but with the humble is wisdom." So a humble person is wise. That's one characteristic of being wise. But in order to obtain wisdom, in order to acknowledge God's greatness, you have to be humble in doing so. So that's a key component of obtaining wisdom from God. Then chapter 24, verses 13 through 14. If your page is thick, that means you haven't turned to that page before. I'm kidding. But you haven't spent enough time on that page, which I haven't gotten to writing in Proverbs 24 yet. But Proverbs 24, verses 13 through 14, it says, "My son, eat honey because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to your taste. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be to your soul. If you have found it, there is a prospect," which means reward, "and your hope will not be cut off." So wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from God, that is fulfilling to your soul. And if you found it, your hope would not be cut off. But hope from what? Hope for eternal salvation. Hope for a lot of joy, peace, eternal joy, peace, and love in relationship with God and with other people. So like that's our reward as well, which is amazing. So this then points to James 3 verses 13 through 18. And if anyone who knows me knows that I am a lover of wisdom. Hold on, my alarm is going off. I am a lover of wisdom. And on my journey with God, I first sought earthly wisdom through self-development type stuff. It's vanity. It is vanity. It's not fulfilling. It only gives a false sense of fulfillment. And if you give up your life and put it in the hands of God, why can't I find James? You gain your life. But if you take up your life into your own hands, you will lose it. And that's something that, why can't I find James? I'm having a huge brain fart. Okay, I know it. Got it. Yeah. So give up your life to Jesus. But James 3 verses 13 through 18. It basically contrasts the earthly wisdom from heavenly wisdom. And I just read it really quickly. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and self-seeking in your hearts, do not boast and lie against the truth. This wisdom does not descend from above, but is earthly, sensual, demonic. For where envy and self-seeking exists, confusion and every evil thing are there. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Now the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. So what I've gotten from this verse is that wisdom is selfless and is purely from God. Wisdom is love. All that list in verse 17 is pure, is peaceful, is gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. That's love. That is truth. That is wisdom from God. And that heavenly contrast is earthly wisdom. So all those connections, it helps when you know your Bible. Sorry, I couldn't find James quicker. But it's great. It's great. If you don't know Jesus, get to know him, get to know God, and he will give you wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of himself, of you, and of the world, so that you can live and have eternal salvation. Your hope will not be lost, and you will have many, many rewards. So seek God. I love you all just as Christ loved me, and I will see you in the next video.